through and through. Oh, the Toon Review. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. By the fans, for the fans, through and through. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. 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 Go!
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review. My name is Paul. This is your breakfast show right here, and we are covering Newcastle United and all the latest news going on, especially the fallout from yesterday's defeat to Arsenal. Now, look, we've had a few people going off on one on social media, etc. Asking questions about Eddie Howe, etc. And we're always going to get that. Whenever Newcastle United lose a football game, guys, everybody's going to turn and say, well, you know, is Eddie, do we need a change? Is it getting a bit stale? Is it this? Is it that? And for me, no, the manager's not even in question right now. What is in question are certain players who seem to be getting chance after chance and don't seem to be performing at all at the minute. So we'll take a look at that. What I want to do this morning, we'll discuss Anthony Gordon and his form and what you guys think. Nick Pope, despite the brilliant saves yesterday, you know, was that a normal Nick Pope error at the end with a terrible goal kick that went straight back to Arsenal? They come forward, get a corner and score. We've got news on the injury front with Lewis Hall, why he missed the game. Did Eddie play Dan Burn at left back just to accommodate him in the side? And of course, we'll talk about the VAR decisions. Now, as usual, please do like and subscribe to the show. If you are new around here, you can become a member by hitting the join button just underneath myself. More prizes to give away very, very soon. And of course, you can super chat the channel, which is the $ at the bottom of the live comments. And that will guarantee your comment to be read out by myself live on the show. Right, we'll start off with a little bit of the fallout from the Arsenal game. Obviously, we'll cover that a little bit in much more detail tonight at 7 o'clock on the actual review, where we'll take a deeper dive into things and we'll look at the player ratings, etc., etc. But obviously, a lot's been made of various penalty incidents yesterday. A lot of pundits saying that Arsenal should have had a penalty, despite the fact that Nick Pope got a touch on the ball. Look, I've looked at that numerous times since yesterday, since the incident, and I can see the pros and cons. You know, I can see why people think it should have been a penalty, and I can see why people didn't think it would be a penalty. Now, Nick Pope clearly did touch the ball. There's no dispute about that. However, the situation being this clear and obvious thing when it comes to VAR, because when you look at the referee going to the screen, right? If it's clear and if it's a clear and obvious error. Now, the fact is he stood at the screen for a good 3-4 minutes looking numerous times. Now, this isn't just yesterday. This is VAR in general, isn't it? You know, when they go to the screen, you know, VAR was set up so they could make a very quick decision on whether there was a clear and obvious error by the referee. Now, the referee awarded a penalty yesterday, and eventually decided it wasn't a penalty after standing at the screen for ages. Now, you can argue and say that, well, that's clearly not a clear and obvious error by the referee. Why is it taking him so long to make that decision? And then you look at the two that when, you know, you look at the Gabriel handball yesterday. I'm convinced that's a penalty, guys. I mean, I really am. And a lot of people, I've looked through all the news and social media stuff since then, and a lot of people do believe that that was a penalty. You know, Gabriel's hand is not in a natural position. He's way out of control, sliding in, and the ball hits his arm. For me, that's a penalty kick, and the game is 1-1 at the time. So that it could easily then become a very competitive finish, and we would probably have got the 3 points because Nick Pope wouldn't have took that kick very quickly to try and get Elanga away down the right to try and win the game. So things would have been different had that gone our way. And then, of course, you know, the incident with Gabriel and his fist up in the face of Voltemata. Look, I'll say it now. I don't think it was a punch. Okay, what are we referring to as a punch these days? I think people need to have a realization of just what an actual punch is. However, it was violent conduct, no doubt about it. His forearm was up, his fist was up. So yes, it was violent conduct. Now VAR, from what I can gather, didn't even check that. Didn't even go back and look at it. So you could then say, well, Gabriel shouldn't have been on the pitch to score the winning goal. So there was a lot of stuff going on yesterday. And, you know, I just think VAR is pathetic. It's crap, but it's not the system itself. We all know it's the people who are sitting behind the screen. They are not good enough to do that anymore. They're not good enough. They've never been good enough, actually. What am I saying anymore? They never ever should be in that position. They just don't read the game. The consistency is not there with VAR. It is terrible. Terrible. And I just, Howard Webb comes out and makes excuses every single week for VAR incompetence. Now, surely it should ring a bell with him and say, wow, you know, I'm having to come out here and defend VAR all the time. Absolute bollocks. You know, get it sorted. Get people in who are going to make these right decisions and make the decisions quickly, because it's just spoiling the game of football. It really is. Black and White Blue says, why wasn't Gabriel sent off for violent conduct? Well, mate, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And it was violent conduct. There wasn't, like I said just there, it's not a punch for me. You know, what are we defining as a punch? He got his fist up, he got his forearm up, and it went into the face of Voltemata deliberately. Very deliberately. So for me, that is an instant violent conduct red card. Dan, good morning. Joe Linton has received multiple cards for less. Yes. But, I mean, to be honest, right, let's look at the Livramento injury. Okay, we'll come on to what Eddie said about the injury itself shortly, but that challenge by Saliba was gutless and cowardly, right? He did not even attempt to jump for the ball with Livramento. And I've said a million times, and so have a lot of other fans, that this all started, if you can remember back to when Harry Kane used to do it. He didn't used to jump. He used to just stay there and sort of nudge the hip of the person jumping, which would force them to go over. Now, that challenge for me, and this challenge that keeps happening in general, needs to stop. It's really risking players every week. Every week there's risking a serious injury. And obviously yesterday Livramento got injured, but that challenge by Saliba was, go and look at it again. It's a cowardly and shitty way to challenge your fellow professionals. And we've all said for a long time now that somebody will get seriously hurt by this. And it happened yesterday. So I did not like the challenge at the time. I thought it was a little sly. And Arsenal did this quite a lot yesterday with the sly little tackles, and because they didn't like the way Newcastle were getting stuck into them. And to be honest, Arsenal never do. They never like the physical side of the game, despite after the game, various comments of saying how brilliant it was to see Arsenal put up a fight. Bullshit. They did not like it. And those kind of tackles need out of the game completely. I think it's a deliberate attempt to injure a fellow professional when that happens. It's cowardly. So you could say Saliba could easily have had a red for intention to injure, because he made no attempt to go and get to challenge for the ball. All he was bothered about was a sly little challenge on Livramento that has ended up with Tino. Could be on the sidelines for some time now. So it was shit. It was a shitty challenge, and I don't care if anyone agrees with me on that. I've looked at it many times. It was a sly little shitty challenge. Now, look, I'm not saying Newcastle United were angels yesterday by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think we have a player in our team who would deliberately go out and try to injure a fellow professional. It's just sick. And to be honest, the Gabriel thing, look, we all know why he was upset, because he was embarrassed. He embarrassed himself at the goal when he felt a Voldemort hand on his lower back, and he goes down like he's been shot from the stands with a huge rifle. Give over. And you were embarrassed. You embarrassed your team and you embarrassed yourself by doing that. And then, of course, you go after Voldemort after that. And Voldemort, rightly so, was absolutely fuming because nothing was done. And how VAR don't go back and look at that for violent conduct, Howard Webb needs to explain that. But then again, he needs to explain something. He needs to explain what VAR are doing every single fucking week. And it does my head in. It really does. It's pathetic. And Howard Webb, I think, should be fired. I don't think he should be in charge of this whole VAR thing. I would rather it be run by former players who know exactly what they're doing. But it never will be, will it? It never will be. Doug from the Dugout channel, good morning, buddy. Gabriel is the fakest tough guy in football. I agree. He's a pathetic excuse for a footballer at times. But it's a shame because Gabriel is a fantastic footballer. You know, he's a wonderful centre-back. And so much better than than other top centre backs in the league for me, but he spoils it by behaving like that. And the Arsenal way to win games seems to be right. We'll do everything to win, which includes cheating, and that for me is wrong. Look, before anyone jumps on me who supports Arsenal, there is no doubt about it. Yesterday, Arsenal deserved to win that game. And I said it in my reaction video straight after the game. Arsenal deserved to win. We are not playing well. We were poor again yesterday. Very poor. And, you know, the stats tell you that story, but watching the game tells you that story. The first half, my God, how we went in 1-0 up, I will never know. But we did. We did. And football is a strange game like that at times. Derek says one law for the cartel and one law for the rest. To be honest, Derek, that's never going to change, buddy. I think that's just something that we have had to get used to very quickly as supporters of a non-cartel club, let's be fair. Magpie 50 says 95% of the time we don't get decisions against the cartel, and they kick our players all over and try to play innocent, and refs believe them. Well, yeah, but I mean, look, like I said before, we're not angels. You know, we've seen Bruno get away with a bit in the past and Joe Linton get away in the past. However, you know, again, you know, the incident with Bruno elbowing Jorginho at St. James's Park, he should have been sent off. We all know that he should have been sent off. And how VAR didn't look at that and think, well, that's violent conduct. I'm talking about VAR across the board here. It's just not a functioning system at all. It is absolutely rank bad. Rank bad. Anyway, let's move on to Anthony Gordon, shall we? Because this is causing a lot of talk amongst Newcastle United fans. And I'm going to be... everybody that watches this channel will know I'm heart on the sleeve stuff, and I will be open and honest with everybody that watches my opinions. And right now, Anthony Gordon needs a fucking rocket up his arse. An absolute rocket. Because what I saw yesterday was he was trying. Now, whether he's trying too hard, I don't know. But when things aren't paying off for him, he's sulking. And I fucking hate that. I hate to see a player sulk. He's completely lost his form. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing with Anthony Gordon, but right now, he is not doing enough. And he hasn't done enough for quite some time. And I'm not just talking about this season either. This thing about Gordon being a world-class left winger, I'm yet to see it, quite honestly. He's got the talent. Absolutely, he has. But on a consistent level, he is rank out of form. Rank out of form and not performing at all. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I've seen a lot of people commenting that Anthony Gordon is getting away with it a little bit because not a lot of people are talking about it. Not a lot of people are highlighting that he's nowhere up to speed, nowhere up to his best. And, you know, people keep saying, oh, he'll get better, he'll get better. I hope he gets better. I really do, because we need Anthony Gordon to be firing. But at the minute, he's just, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is in his own head, on the pitch, or whatever. I don't know where he is. And for me, that's a concern. Because yesterday, he tried to take players on. Didn't happen. He put one ball in the first half, one ball in the second, and that was it. That was it. Now, you need better from your wingers. Now, don't get me wrong. The other side was shit as well. Murphy was terrible yesterday, and Elanga didn't do anything when he came on, apart from the handball incident, which he smashed into Elanga's hand. But Gordon's been out of form for too long now. When can you honestly look back and say Gordon was fantastic? And I know there's other players in the team that haven't been turning up on a different level, but this is an England international who everybody is claiming is an elite player. Well, I can't see it. As a Newcastle fan, watching him live in the stadium or watching him on TV, I cannot see this at the minute. I don't know what's going on. He hasn't played well for a long time. So it's not just this season, and people, I think he's getting away with it a little bit with people saying, oh, he's been suspended, so, et cetera, et cetera. Give him an opportunity. But this isn't just this season. When can you look back and say Gordon was absolutely fantastic? Now, running around the field, and we know this with Miggy, working hard and trying to close down, fine, no problem at all. But when you've got the ball and you're a creative player, you need to create, and we're not creating. And Gordon needs to do so much better, because fans are picking up on it now. And last night, there was a lot of chat on social media saying, hang on, Gordon's getting away with it here. When is somebody going to discuss Anthony Gordon's drop in form or his lack of consistency? Well, I'll tell you something. I'm going to say it because I want to see better from Anthony Gordon. I've said it for weeks now, that I think he needs to start performing, because at the minute, his head doesn't look in it. He sulks around when things don't go well. He gave the ball away so much yesterday. He was struggling. It's just not the player that we think he is. And that's a concern. It's a concern as a fan that Anthony Gordon is not performing, because when you are wanting to be where you are as Newcastle United and you have elite players in your squad, you need them to turn up and turn up consistently. And when can you honestly turn around and say, Anthony Gordon was fantastic? When? He might have played well while he was on the pitch against Liverpool, but he was sent off. So that eradicates that straight away. Absolutely eradicated completely. So I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know what we expect now from Anthony Gordon, because I haven't seen a good game for him for a long time. And there's a lot of chat in the live chat now saying that maybe he's still head turned by Liverpool and this and that. Maybe. But I mean, look, I'll come on to Eddie Howe in a minute with, playing favourites and things like this, because that needs brought up without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't think he's been consistent for well over a season and a half now. And it's a shame, because we know there's a player in there. We've seen it briefly. We've seen it. But unfortunately, I mean, that shot he tried yesterday when he cut in the first half and hit it with his right foot. And on fire Anthony Gordon, how many times have we seen the ball nestle in the net when he's done that? And it was just a powder puff shot straight into the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper didn't have to move or anything. But I think we're struggling on that left-hand side now, because Harvey Barnes has done naff all this season, and so has Anthony Gordon. And when we started the season, we looked at the left-hand side and thought, right, Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes on that left-hand side. We weren't worried about it. But I tell you what, a few games into the season, and I am worried about it, because Barnes isn't performing. Gordon's not performing. The right-hand side yesterday was ineffective. If Murphy starts a game poorly in the first 5 minutes, you're guaranteed he'll be shite the rest of the game. And that didn't change yesterday. And then, like, Elanga comes on. Elanga's not making any impact at the minute from the bench. Should he have started? Possibly. We'll discuss that more tonight. But I just think Anthony Gordon, at the minute, I think in his own head, he is better than he actually is. I've said it. I genuinely believe that. I think Anthony Gordon, for some reason, and I don't like saying this about footballers, but I just don't think his head is in the right place now. I don't think his head is in Newcastle United completely. I think that something's going on with him behind the scenes. It could be anything. But his performances on the pitch, for me, are not where they need to be. They are way, way short. And look, Brian's saying there, why does everyone say his head was turned? He was happy until the club touted him out for sale. Well, look, does that matter? Anthony Gordon, and Billy made a good point yesterday. Rashford's form is starting to pick up at Barcelona. There's other left wingers coming to the fray now. There's a World Cup in the summer. And can you honestly say Anthony Gordon is looking like an England international right now to get in the starting lineup of that England team? No. And listen, I think criticism for players is valid if you've got a valid point. And Newcastle fans now have a very valid point about Anthony Gordon. He is not doing it. And, well, slapping the bird's ass says if Gordon didn't have the speed, he'd be a championship player. Look, speed is one thing, but you have to have a final product. And Anthony Gordon's got none of that at the minute. You know, he just couldn't control the ball yesterday. Time and time again, it was going out for a throw-in. And he was trying to make passes, and he was giving it straight to the Arsenal players. I mean, it's a shame because we know what he can do. And for whatever reason, we're not seeing it. And it's very early doors in this season, but this has been going on now for over a season and a half for me, where we just haven't seen the best of Anthony Gordon. And I'm not sure what he does. I think he needs, for me, consistent run on the left-hand side and stay there. Stop moving him into the middle. Continue to play him on the left. Try and get his form back and try and get his confidence going on the left again. Because wingers are very much confidence players, aren't they? We've seen it many, many times before in the past. So get his confidence back up by continually play him on the left. Give him a kick up the arse, but put an arm around him as well. And then say, look, you're going to get a run in the side on the left-hand side. Let's get you back up to form. Let's get that confidence going. Let's get you scoring goals again. But something has to change. Because the left-hand side and the right-hand side, to a degree, are not performing, not creating. And that is why we have a massive lack of creativity this season. Our expected XGs are shocking. It was at the end of the game yesterday, our expected XG was 0.49 again. 0.49. It's not good enough. And look, everybody needs to perform as well. You know, the players around Gordon, they need to get him going as well. But it's up to that individual himself to get himself going with the help of the coaching staff. So I'm just a bit bewildered by Anthony Gordon right now. Bewildered and a little bit pissed off, to be honest. Because I want to see him perform. I want to see him score goals for Newcastle. I want to see him be one of the main reasons that we're up at the top end of the table. But it ain't happening. Magpie50 says 95% of the time we don't get decisions against the cartel. I've read that one. Sorry, mate. Mark Mullins says, well, there is no way he's getting in the World Cup squad playing like a League Two player. He's been absolutely abysmal. Something clearly is going on in his head. To be honest, I think a lot of people are agreeing with what I'm saying about Anthony Gordon. It's very, you know, the people out there say, oh, you're negative to this player and negative to that player. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with being negative. It's to do with being honest. It's to do with being honest and factual. And nobody can turn around to me and say, we are getting good productivity out of Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes or Elanga. We're not getting it right now. But Anthony Gordon is he's a big profile England international. And I'm not seeing I'm not seeing that high profile England international, not by a long shot right now. And that has to change. Elanga has to get better. So does Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes needs a fucking rocket up his arse as well. But I'm just not seeing it from the one guy that is expected to perform week in, week out. And that is Anthony Gordon. And for weeks now, I've thought, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to keep quiet about Anthony Gordon. But I'm not going to anymore. I'm not going to anymore because those people on social media that actually called him out and said, look, when is it? When is it that somebody's going to actually finally discuss the drop in form from Anthony Gordon? And I think it's absolutely bang on. He's getting away with it because there's other things happening that maybe we're not taking a closer look at, on Anthony Gordon. You're right, Susan. Susan Fagan saying Elanga played brilliantly against Barca. Absolutely. And he was yanked off. So what he was taken off, which Baz says, Paul, you'll upset the happy clap. I couldn't give a shit, mate. I couldn't give a shit about upsetting happy clappers. I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking from heart on the sleeve, and I'm speaking as a fact because it is a fact that we're not getting anything out of Anthony Gordon right now. And it's a shame because I want to see it. I want to come on these shows and go, yeah, Anthony Gordon, absolutely fantastic, brilliant, back to his best. I want to see that massively. Right, Nick Pope is next on the agenda, folks. And, look, Nick Pope, if it wasn't for Nick Pope yesterday, right, we'd have lost that game 5-1, 6-1, whatever. Because he made 3 wonderful saves in that first 20 minutes of the game. 2 from Eze, which were fantastic saves. The first one especially down to his left and actually flicking the ball away with his fingers. It was a brilliant, brilliant save. Now, Nick Pope looked really confident throughout the game, but his kicking is still a huge, huge worry. And then he does what he does at the end of the game. Now, I said on my reaction video last night that I didn't really want to particularly blame Nick Pope for losing the game. But when he takes Mason says he bottled it at the end. I think he did. Because why are you smashing that ball the way you did, trying to find Elanga in the last minute of the game? I know you want to win the game, but Nick Pope is not one of these keepers who will launch a pass from his own penalty area and actually find a Newcastle player. More than likely, it goes to the opposition or it goes out of play. And that's exactly what had happened. Now, he claims that he was sort of nudged when he kicked the ball. I haven't seen that, to be honest. I think he's trying to make an excuse up for himself there. It was a rotten, rotten goal kick. And, of course, Arsenal get a corner. They then score. Nick Pope comes out to try and punch the ball. He's a million miles away. Although I'm not really looking at that particular incident. It was why he was trying to... And it let him down. It let him down because of the performance he put in. And then he goes and does that at the end. And we lose the game because of it. You know, if he'd held onto that ball just a few more seconds, let everyone get back into place, we wouldn't have lost the game yesterday. And it's these vital moments that let Nick Pope down after a fantastic display. For me, he was up there for man of the match before that. And then he went and did that. But look, do we blame Nick Pope for losing the game? Do we really blame Nick Pope? I don't think so, in all honesty, because the players need to take a good heart. That performance yesterday was terrible. It was a bad performance all round. And Nick Pope was one of the main reasons we didn't get an utter sculling yesterday. Because that going in at 1-0 at half-time, and me and Billy said this on the commentary, we were lucky. We couldn't believe we were going in 1-0 up at half-time because Arsenal just shit all over us. They were all over us yesterday in that first half. The passing, the movement, we couldn't live with them. We could not live with Arsenal yesterday. And time again, they should have scored. But the bottom line is, it's a huge mistake from Nick Pope at the end. It's a huge one because it's a terrible goal kick. And then he comes off his line for the corner, and he's, instead of being in front of all those players jumping for the header, he's behind them. And, of course, Gabriel times his header to perfection, and it's in the back of the net. Nick Pope is trying to come from the side, and I don't know what he's doing. Instead of ploughing through the middle or getting to the ball first. Make your mind up. But the performance wasn't good yesterday, guys. Nick Pope, we know, has got his strengths, and his strengths, he's got incredible reflexes, incredible shot stopper. No doubt about that. And like I say, would have been 5-6 yesterday. But for some reason, it just fucks me off when he makes those kind of mistakes that lead to goals. And it's so annoying because he kind of took a dip in his performance yesterday because of that. And that'll be reiterated, I'm sure, in the player ratings that we do on tonight's review show. But is it time for a change now? You know, can we say after Nick Pope denied Arsenal time after time after time, what on earth is going on? Is that fair? Is that fair to say we need a change after he saved us so much yesterday, but then again made an error at the end that lost us the game? We can't afford this. We need a goalkeeper who isn't going to be making these silly little mistakes on a consistent basis. It's annoying. And Nick Pope is a very good goalkeeper, but is it time that we bring Ramsdale in now? Or does Eddie have the balls to bring Ramsdale in? Will he drop Nick Pope? Because this is starting to rear its ugly head again about, well, Eddie Howe and his favourites, which we'll discuss. Ian Fleming with a super chat. As Toon Army said, we need to manage games better going into the later stages. We do, but we shouldn't be in that position. You know, this is the problem I have at the minute, is that we're playing to not get beat instead of playing to win now. And this intensity is our identity has gone way out the window for me. That is not the case anymore, because I pretty much think we are in a position now where certain games this season, and quite a few of them, we've set up not to lose rather than to win. And that's I've never said that under Eddie Howe. And Eddie Howe has always been, you know, I'm putting these teams out to win. But I think Eddie is very nervous about getting beat. But because of that, we are dropping points where we should have actually picked points up. We should have picked points up against Villa. We should have beaten Leeds. We should have picked points up against Bournemouth. Wolves' performance was pretty average, despite winning 1-0. It just doesn't seem like we're going out to win games anymore. You know, you look and see, well, was the press really there yesterday against Arsenal? Not really. Not really. And that's very strange, because against Arsenal in the past, we've been on top of them from the word go and gave them a rough ride all the way through. A really, really rough ride. But yesterday, I didn't see that. I didn't see it at all. And look, people are mentioning Europe and things like that, and he's got to sort of change the way we play. No, he doesn't. Because he's got a bigger squad than he's ever had this time around. So he doesn't need... People are talking about managing fitness of players. We're 6 games in. These are professional footballers at the peak of the fitness. 6 games in. I'm really not going for all this fatigue shite, right? Not at all. Not at all. You look at the other top teams around, or where we want to be, right? You look at the Liverpools, the Man Cities, France. You know, they play strong sides all the time. If they need their big players, they play. They play. And if they need to take them off after an hour or 70 minutes, go for it. Sorry, guys, I was knocked out the studio there. I do apologize for that. I'm still here. Yeah, so that's what they do. They do that. But one thing Newcastle United cannot do, guys, is sit back. Because when we do sit back, we get punished. We're not a team that's good at sitting back and taking it all in and just... We can't do it. We never have been able to do it. And I think Eddie going to 5 at the back yesterday, I think was a dodgy decision. But listen, next discussion, I want to ask a question, and especially about left back yesterday. Did Eddie Howe play Dan Burn at left back just to accommodate him in the team because he knew he could not drop Botman or Chow? I want to ask that question to you guys this morning because I'm fascinated to know what you guys think. Because for me, I'm astounded that he was left back yesterday. And I think he could, the decision for that was nothing to do with anything else by the fact that he could not drop Dan Burn. And I may be wrong. Hell, I may be wrong. But for where I'm sitting as a fan, I'm looking at yesterday and I'm thinking, right, Livramento's on the right, Trippier's on the bench, and he goes with... It made no sense. Dan Burn should never be playing at left back in a million years. And I've even seen people say that Dan Burn was one of the better performers yesterday. He was not. He was caught out 5 or 6 times in that first half by Saka and the pace of Timber. And it was Botman coming across a lot of the time. Or to be fair to Anthony Gordon, he backtracked a lot yesterday and helped out defensively. We want Gordon at the other end of the pitch, but he was back helping out Dan Burn yesterday on numerous occasions. No way in hell should Dan Burn play at left back. Not a chance. Kieran Trippier is on the bench. Why on earth are you not playing Livramento at left back, where he's been playing for a long time now and can play very good football there? You're putting Dan Burn in a precarious situation because he's never played there for a long, long time. For over a season, he's never been at left back. So why are you putting him there against Arsenal and against Saka and Timber, who are quality football players and will expose Dan Burn? And I kind of felt sorry for Big Dan yesterday because he was put in a situation that he was never, ever, ever going to win yesterday. Never. And he was caught out so many times. But I really genuinely believe that the reason he was in the team yesterday was because Eddie bottled leaving him out. And do I like saying that? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. But Eddie Howe bottled it yesterday by putting Dan Burn there because he knew that the form of Chow and Botman, they are undroppable right now. And they were amazing again yesterday. They were absolutely superb yesterday. So he cannot leave them out. They are the 2 centre-backs moving forward. In the big games where he doesn't have to rotate, you simply have to play Botman and Chow. They are elite defenders. And we're seeing that now consistently. But Eddie Howe, for me, bottled that yesterday by doing what he did, playing Dan Burn at left back. It was terrible. And it was such a shame to watch Dan Burn struggle like that. It really was. But this is going back to talking about the situation with Eddie and some of the players that he finds that, yes, they've done an incredible job. And yes, they've been fantastic for them. But have you got that real instinct, that real power to go and drop some of these players when you know other players are performing better in that position? And this has been a question that's been asked of Eddie since he's been here. Has he got that in him to leave these players out? And I don't think he has. I genuinely don't think he has. Do I think it'll be his downfall? I don't know. I can't answer that. But all I can do is, as a fan, look at what's going on the pitch and say, why on earth are you playing Dan Burn there? It was a crime. And he was put in an awful situation. And I genuinely believe he does have his favourites. I think every football manager does have his favourite players that he can think that he can turn to and rely on in certain circumstances. Absolutely he does. But you have to have the balls to leave some of them out sometimes when you know for a fact that other players are performing way, way better. And yeah, I don't think he should have been in left back. And judging by what a lot of you guys are saying as well, he shouldn't have really been at left back. Dan Burn's been marvellous for us. He's been absolutely fantastic. But as a centre-back, the time he was left back, he did a job. He wasn't outstanding, but he did a job. but he is a centre-back and he's been performing brilliantly well at centre-back. So please do not put him in that position because he's not a left-back. And he's a couple of years older now, remember, from last time he played at left-back. He doesn't have the pace to cope with being a left-back, which was what was against him yesterday. And he was exposed for that numerous times. It was such a shame because he's a fantastic centre-back. He's a warrior. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Ian Fleming says, as Tonali said, I've read that one, sorry. Mark says, don't really want to say this, but has Isak leaving had a bigger effect on some squad players than what we really know about, as all AG, JM, HB have been poor? It's an interesting question, Mark, a question that I can't answer, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know. And that will, I guess, come out in time. But listen, what I will say is these players play for Newcastle United. You know, Isak doesn't anymore. These players play for, and it doesn't matter about Isak going now. He's no longer a Newcastle United player. So, I don't think so. These are Newcastle United players. If they want to play for the badge, then sure you want to play for the badge. You know, sometimes this season we've played some really nice football, by the way. We've played some excellent football. But at the top end of the pitch, it's crumbled. The creativity is not there, and that's a concern. Magpie 50 says, Wissa missing, really hurting our pressing tactics, and everyone sees it, so predictable. Well, listen, I think Wissa coming back will make a huge difference. Will make a huge difference. But Wissa, just like Voldemort, needs ammunition. And if we're not getting ammunition from the wings, then Wissa's going to struggle if he's not getting the opportunities. Jazz says, Howe's out his depth with Champions League again. He's not learned. Well, it's a little bit early to say that, to be honest. I mean, listen, I've had a go at Eddie Howe on numerous occasions for game management, etc. I think his game management's been poor in certain situations, but I think it's a little early to say that he hasn't learned from 2 years ago. I think just certain things rile you, don't it? You know, when you look at Dan Burns starting at left back, you look at some of the substitutions and you question it from time to time. But look, let's see when Wissa comes back, because, you know, Eddie made it clear in his press conference that he doesn't see Voldemort as a number 10 because we don't play that way. So I think all this talk of maybe moving to a 4-2-3-1 or whatever it may be, that's not going to happen. He says we play this way. So that's not going to happen. And everybody asking, will Voldemort play with Wissa, etc., etc. Where's he going to fit them in if he doesn't play Voldemort as a number 10? Because he won't go to 4-4-2. I don't know. I think he needs to. I think something needs to change. Now, finally, injury news. Lewis Hall apparently missed the game yesterday due to body fatigue. Now, I'm not sure. Some medical person may know better than me what that is. I just think, you know, fatigue in itself. We know that Lewis Hall has come back from a long-term injury. However, this early in the season, body fatigue. You know, he has been involved in pre-season, or some of it. I mean, we're a bit of a way into the season now, and body fatigue. Look, I want Lewis Hall to be 100% fit. I don't want to risk getting injured. So, you know, he's saying body fatigue. Is that managing his fitness? That's probably what it sounds like, to be honest. The one we really need to worry about, guys, is Tino. Now, obviously, you mentioned at the top end of the show there the injury. The challenge by Saliba, the tackle, the knee injury, it doesn't look good. And Eddie Howe has admitted it doesn't look good. He is going for scans today. Let's just pray that it's not ACL damage. Let's just hope it's maybe just a jarring of the knee or something like that. But Eddie did admit that it looked, or it could be, a bad one. And I feel for Tino because he's been one of our outstanding players for so long now. On a consistent level, he's been absolutely brilliant. But one thing that we don't want again is a knockback like this. But Saliba was an awful challenge and just shocking. And I can't say anything more about that. It was just a disgusting challenge. Go and watch it again, and you'll see exactly what I mean. He looks at the ball, then decides he's not going to challenge for the ball. He looks where Livramento is, and he goes in. And for me, it's an attempt to injure. It should have been disciplined, but it wasn't. And the Tino ends up going off on a stretcher, and now we could be without him for a long, long time. It's, I don't know. I think if Tino's missing for the majority of the season, then we're in trouble because, you know, Kieran Trippier, that's an extra workload on him. That made me see Dan Burn go to left back quite a few more times this season. God forbid. So let's just put our fingers crossed and hope to God that Livramento isn't going to be out for a long time. Well, there you go, folks. That is the news this morning. Obviously, a lot to get stuck into this morning. So thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget, we're back tonight at 7 o'clock with the match review, where we'll go through the player ratings and take a deeper dive into the incidents in the game itself. But thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on a rerun, let me know in the comments regarding all the points that have been brought up in the news show this morning. Don't forget, these will be back every morning now at 10 a.m. We'll obviously, when we've got a little bit less news than this, we'll take a look at some of the ridiculous reports that are out there from the media, from Newcastle United's perspective as well. So we'll think, are they true or they're not true, that kind of thing. So that'll make for some good conversation as well. But there was a lot to get into this morning, guys. So thank you very much for taking part in the chat. Thanks for your super chats, etc. Thank you very much for joining me and supporting the breakfast shows now. And we will see you all again tonight. But don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new around here. And keep voting for us in those football content awards. As I say, we've made the finals. We need your help more than anything. So keep hitting that link at the top of the show's description. The instructions are there where to go to vote for us. Keep voting, guys. So thank you very much. We'll see you back at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, have a great Monday, folks. Take care.
Come back and check out the breeze.